several months ago, I started to really rethink my career and what I was doing every day. I was not sleeping well, kind of dreading the idea of the work that I had to face the next day, lost the joy in my work. I had been in executive leadership for a long time, most of my career. And there was a time that I loved leading a team and really kind of pushing people to their best and growing people and watching things really take off. And in the recent couple of years, I just landed in a place where that wasn't an enjoyable experience for me anymore. The culture wasn't great. The pressure wasn't great. And I just kept waking up thinking, why am I still doing that? I don't want to feel this way about my work. And I think those frustrations really just led me to, I don't want to not work. So what would that be? What do I want to do? And I knew that I loved the recruiting. I knew that I loved to learn about employers, companies, people leading those companies. What do they do at that company? What do they do? You drive by buildings in your community and you have no idea what's happening inside their four walls. That piece of the business had always been the fun and the joy, that customer facing, and then that match of a person to a company, where I've placed people who they spent their whole career. Like I placed a college graduate into a company and he is now their VP of operations. He started on their production line, right? Like I loved that piece of the work. So I said, well, that's what I want to do. I'm not ready to not work. And that's the piece that I want to do. So I knew that executive search is where I wanted to land. So I started to just kind of vet out. I'd had a couple of bad experiences, right, with new employment where it didn't make me feel good about my work and my day. So I started to really just kind of poke around, and this job has taught me to network and know people who do what I do. So I started to look around and I found Carrie. I started to read her bio, like where has she been and what had she done, and I started to get onto the Revel website, and I could feel myself being pulled in. I could feel myself going, this feels different. This feels a way that I want to feel about work, right? So I'm a firm believer, you don't get what you don't ask for. I knew that I was making a bit of a leap, right? I was going from executive leadership. I was VP of operations for a very large light industrial staffing company, to then say, I really want to just be a scout. I want to just find people and find employers and make great matches. That's a big shift in my career. So I knew that there would be some work involved to make that shift happen. Employers may not be very convinced that that's where I really wanted to stay. So I just wrote her an email. I found her on LinkedIn and I sent her an message and just said, hey, here's who I am, what I'm doing, and I want to talk to you if we could talk. She replied, thankfully, and said, yes, she would love to have that conversation. I talked to probably 7 or 8 different companies that would provide that same setup where I could kind of run my own desk, do my own thing. None of them made me feel the way that Revel Search made me feel. None of them made me feel as welcomed and as relaxed. And not that work needs to feel relaxed, but I didn't feel that high pressure, stress, all of those things that had been missing in my day. I started to feel them coming back just in my interactions and my exchanges with them. So a handful of conversations, Zoom calls later, here we are, working for Revel Search, and loving it, loving every minute, feeling really, really excited about being able to wake up. And I said recently, love a Monday. I haven't loved a Monday in a really long time, so it's exciting. So I've recently joined the team here with Revel Search, and Carrie and Marcy wanted to get together and have an actual face-to-face. We did everything via Zoom calls and virtual meeting. Felt strongly about each other and well enough that we said, let's do this, and then scheduled time to actually spend together face-to-face, really getting to know each other. And the timing was tight, everyone's schedules, but I think this is one of the things that's most critical about this team. We all have a life. We all have a busy life that's going on in the background, right? So we looked at calendars and when it might make sense. And I was coming from Michigan. They're in 2 different parts of Florida. So we figured out how to make it work. And that meant that Carrie would have to blend some of this into a pretty big weekend that she had going with her own family. And so we did it. We just made it work. And then to top it off, my flight out of Michigan got delayed. So our first evening together just didn't happen because the flight came in too late and that they had other obligations and it just wasn't working. But not once did I feel like, oh my gosh, this is all going sideways because my flight's delayed, or they're going to be disappointed because I'm not there when I said I would be there, like you would normally feel in that corporate world where you've got a schedule and a demand and people waiting for you and what have you. So we agreed that we would get together the next morning, and I got up and got ready, and we're meeting at a coffee shop, and I got a text from Marcy. She says, make sure it's casual. We're really comfortable. So perfect. Love that idea. And I remember pulling into the coffee shop that we were meeting at and thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't bring like a notepad or my computer. Like, oh, what are they going to think? But it was too late, right? I needed to walk in the door. So I was already like walking in a little bit like, oh gosh, Brenda, you should have been more prepared for this meeting. And in the very moment, like they met me on the porch of this very quaint little coffee shop. And I never had that thought enter my mind again. Like the idea that I wasn't prepared or I wasn't going to live up to some high standard corporate expectation never entered my mind a single second after meeting them on the porch of the coffee shop. So we sat, had coffee, talked about a million ideas and thoughts and where we want to go with and where I want to go with Revel, and got up, and Carrie said, well, my son's band is playing. I really want to be there and be present. Let's go for a walk. So we go for a walk. We watch her son's band play for a little while. All very relaxed and so easy, right? I never ever, I've joined a handful of companies, and it's that you've got to make that amazing first impression, and you feel, a little anxious, like people are judging you. And, Revel lives by the more love, less judge. And it couldn't have been more real in that time with them. We had a photo shoot after that. We were getting ready for announcing my participation here, and had lots of laughs and fun, met for some drinks and a little bit of dinner after, and wrapped up. And I went home feeling like I've just had the most warm and welcoming introduction and onboarding experience of my life. I've worked for a long time, so I waited a long time to have such a warm feeling.